What's going on, guys? Me again. Um, just wanted to drop a little video to talk about this headline that I saw. Maybe it was yesterday. I think it was yesterday. But the headline was breaking. Warriors are preparing to lose Klay Thompson in free agency. Yeah, no shit. Like, is this a joke? Like, that's not a headline. So the reason why I say it like this is because, like, I personally, I personally thought that the Warriors should have traded Klay Thompson this year, like earlier in the year, like even last offseason, right? Like they should have done something because like this is crazy. Like I think the expectations for both parties involved are very just like not on the same page. So let me explain that a little bit further. So let's start with the Warriors, right? Klay Thompson missed 2 full seasons with very significant injuries. So I just think at this point he's gonna be a dramatically different player, which I think to some extent, they get and they understand. But I think people keep assuming that he's going to be the player that he was before the injuries, and that's just not going to happen. It's the same thing. Like, look at Derrick Rose. It's way different when you are an amazing player, and a lot of that is dependent on your athleticism. Obviously that was more so in the case of Derrick Rose than Klay Thompson, but Klay Thompson was an amazing defender before he got injured. And now he's not up to that same level of defensive capability, and that's reasonable. I mean, I understand that. I could understand if you tear your ACL, you tear your Achilles, you're not going to be as mobile. Even once you recover, he spent a lot of time not being in NBA competition. He aged while the league was getting better. And he still came back and helped him get to a championship. So I think there's a little bit of, I think just not real rational thinking in terms of the Warriors organization that he was going to be this player. And I mean, maybe they did think more on par with the way I'm thinking, but I think if that's the case, you look to trade this guy. Maybe they're trying to be respectful, not trade him, let him decide where he wants to go. I don't really know, but it seems like they should have probably made that trade to bring someone in, or at least maybe, I don't know, get a pick or two or something. Like, you had to do something. Now you're putting yourself at the biggest disadvantage, which is losing Klay Thompson, which I am 99.9% sure is going to happen. So now let me go to the perspective of Klay Thompson. I think the issue here is I think Klay has pleaded. I remember a press conference of him talking about how, he wasn't going to be the same player. You can't go through the injuries that he went through and come back and be the same player, which I think is very valid, like I was just explaining. But I think he's having like a little bit of like cognitive dissonance. Like, he's saying what the case is. Like, yeah, I've been injured severely. I'm not going to be the same player. But he continues to have this level of frustration and trying to be the same player that he was. So I think he needs to learn to adapt to a new role. And that doesn't necessarily mean coming off the bench or, playing less minutes. That's not necessarily what it is. You can play a different role while playing the same amount of minutes. It just depends on what's going to be the best thing to help your team win. And I think at this point, the Warriors have more problems than just this Klay Thompson situation. I think they have a lot of problems with just a continuously aging roster, that they're kind of just hanging on to this dream. But I think for Klay, I think that last game that we saw him play with the Warriors in Sacramento, where he went 0 for 10 and I think 0 for 6 from 3, that was kind of like, okay, this is over. So that's why I'm like, this headline doesn't make any sense to me. Like, we all knew that was going to happen. There was also a video that was going around, like, like TikTok and Twitter of like the Warriors all walking off the court, and then Klay is just standing there in Sacramento, just like looking around the arena. Like he's like, oh, this is like, like everyone thought he was like thinking that he was going to retire or something. I don't think he's going to retire. But you can just see that it's like this long due epiphany for both sides where, in my opinion, I think the Warriors messed up. I think they should have just like, bitten the bullet and traded Klay when they kind of had the opportunity. Now you're not going to get that opportunity, and you're losing basically your second best player. So, hopefully the Warriors will now allow, Jonathan Kuminga and Moses Moody to kind of blossom a little bit more, because I think they're good players. you know. So, but as far as where Klay Thompson should go, it's like a landing spot. I would suggest that he goes to either Dallas. I would say Dallas is probably the number one choice that I would put down for Klay. And then I would also, suggest maybe going to the Magic. I think Klay Thompson's at the point in his career where he can kind of be what Ray Allen was to the Miami Heat during the LeBron, D-Wade, Chris Bosh days. I think just be that veteran presence, bring a good attitude, and just hit open shots when they need you to. And I do believe Klay Thompson has like that clutch gene, like he rises up to the moment and plays better when the pressure's on. So I think, he's, I did just say he plays better when the pressure's on, when he went 0 for 10 in the game that was going to save their season last year. I get it. But track record wise, he can show up when you need him to. And I think there's a big difference between a play-in game and a playoff game. So, but it'll be interesting to see where Klay goes. For me, I hope he winds up in Dallas, seeing what they just did in the postseason and then adding somebody like Klay Thompson, especially when they just let Tim Hardaway go. I think that's the best option for him. So, I mean, it'll be weird to not see Klay in a, Warriors uniform, but, everybody's got to move on eventually. So, it'll be a very interesting storyline to follow as we go into next season. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see what team Klay is going to pick to kind of, enter this most likely last chapter of his NBA career. I don't see him being the guy that just bounces around from place to place. I think he's going to pick a spot where he can see himself being successful through now until the end of his career. So, if you guys like this video, please give me a thumbs up, share, comment, subscribe, do all that jazz. And let me know what else you want me to talk about, I love talking basketball, so just hit my line. Peace.